be engaged with Grant as well. So again, thank you all for joining on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Now, Grant, we typically kick off our conversations with a guest engagement question just to kind of loosen you up a bit. So the question that I have for you today is, you are going to be stranded on a foreign island and you can only bring 3 things with you. What would they be and why?
Wow, that's interesting.
Right?
So let me get the vision here. So I'm on a stranded island.
Stranded island.
I'm feeling like Tom Hanks here on that movie, right? There's nothing there. So I'm just wondering, number one thing, I'm going to need to have some form of communication. So I want to have my cell phone.
Good. That's nice.
So I can get off this island. So if I get 3 things I can certainly have, definitely I need communication. Communication is so important. Hopefully there'll be some cell towers around that I can have that kind of communication. So that would be number one, because with that's going to bring my entire community with me. So whether it's family, friends, colleagues, peers, I can communicate with them while I'm waiting to be rescued. The other thing I'm going to need is some food. So I think that's going to be pretty necessary for my survival while I'm waiting to be rescued. So hopefully I'll have some good cuisine there awaiting for me, that I can have dining very, very well for the next few days. The other thing I'm going to need is some water. You got to have some liquids, and there's certain things that are very, very necessary. And I did not pick. I only have those 3, but I'll definitely go with the food, water, and communications. I should have some shelter, but I'm figuring I'm on an island, like maybe hopefully out in the Caribbean somewhere, so shelter is not as important, but certainly important.
Yeah. Now, are you like a soul food person or more like a vegetarian, pescatarian type of person?
Man, I'm all in. I think I'm not. I don't have a particular niche, even though I kind of stay away from the beef and the pork as a primary. I'm more into fish and poultry. But I do like my sides. Obviously, my green leafy vegetables. I try to get into my salads. I try to listen to what's going on in this world around diet. Proper diet, very important. What you put into your body is what you're going to get out of it. So I try to be socially or nutritionally conscious in that area.
Yeah, well, you look good. You look good. So you do some. Well, I want to go ahead and read your bio really quick here. It's really lengthy, so I may not read the entire thing. So I will give you a chance to kind of fill in any gaps.
Oh, sure.
Grant McGaugh is the owner and founder of 5-Star BDM. Grant McGaugh is recognized by Legacy Magazine as a thought leader and super connector for healthcare professionals. His highlights include establishing a statewide organization for the National Association of Health Services Executives for the state of Florida, which he serves as the immediate past president and as Regent National Board member of NACI. He is also the program chair for HIM, in which he provides knowledge, shares program for health information technology professionals in South Florida. Named by Miami Legacy Magazine as a South Florida's top Black healthcare professional of 2019, and an African American Achiever by JM Family in 2020. Grant McGaugh has created a socially conscious digital presence that inspires the healthcare community. I'll stop there. But we want to hear from you, Grant. Besides your wonderful accolades and all of the great things that you've done here in South Florida, we want to get to know you. Where are you from? What energizes you every single day?
Wow. Well, as far as where I'm from, where I started, I'm from the Midwest originally. So I was born in Omaha, Nebraska. I still have a lot of family and friends there. I am from a very well-respected family, the Bryant Fisher family in Omaha. We celebrate our annual family reunion. I think right now we're at 103 or maybe 104 years continuous family reunions. And we have about 2,000, 3,000 different descendants. I love telling that story because a lot of people, everyone loves family, a lot of people do, but they don't always have the opportunity to have that annual family reunion and tell the family story and hand it down from generation to generation. I was born into that. When I was born, I just date myself, but I was born in 1963. And even at that point, it was already 50 years in. So
Wow.
it was just always a part of my upbringing and who I am. We do have some notables that are a part of the family. Gabrielle Union does come to family reunion. She is one of the dozens of cousins, as we call it. And we welcome her, when she can come out, at that time. So, but I've been living in South Florida for the last 20 plus years. I think since 1998. Love the weather, love the culture, love the community that's here. So many different people from so many different walks of life. I tell people all the time, especially as our country goes through this diversity and inclusion kind of training around cultural competence, I always love the fact that even whoever I may meet on the street in South Florida, you cannot look at a person and automatically size up and actually understand what their ethnicity is or what their race may be. They could be from anywhere. Just because this person has a light skin or they may look Caucasian, they could be Jewish, they could be Australian, they could be British. You don't really know. You really need to get to know that person. They could be a Hispanic descent and whatnot. Also in the black community as well, just because a person has a melanic view or a darker hue to themselves doesn't necessarily mean they have the African American experience. Their experience is Caribbean, their experience is South American, or their experience is African in a number of different ways. So you give the opportunity for individuals to define themselves. And from there, you can have an intelligent conversation. So that kind of tells a little bit about me in a nutshell, that I'm definitely culturally conscious. I do a lot in the healthcare field, especially for the last 5 or 6 years around Black health equity and trying to expand awareness in that field so we are not at the bottom of the metrics when it comes to measuring outcomes. We need to improve on that, and a lot of that comes from knowledge and awareness.
Nice. So thank you for offering the supplemental information, Grant. I think that knowing you personally, you are well rounded, of course, and you are well connected. And so I'm so excited that you're here and that you're going to be imparting a lot of wisdom to our community. So, for those of you who don't know, Grant was actually a guest on our show last year. And I was so impressed with the wisdom that he shared that I wanted to have us all interview him individually and ask our personal questions around brand development and networking. So, the first question that I have for you, Grant, is what tips do you have for millennials on how they can actually build their personal brand in this social media era?
That's a good question. Especially we're on a platform, social media platform, Instagram. I believe it's more conducive for the millennial community,
Yeah.
and they use it a lot. Sharing content, whether it's rich content, from videos to pictures and ideas that they're having. And what I have found is that you have to look at what are you trying to accomplish,
Yes.
because what you put out there on social media, number one, it's public. And it doesn't just last for an hour or 24 hours. It actually can be researched for a number of different years. So with that in mind, be conscious. That would be my number one thing. Before you hit that button to say send, understand what you're putting out there. And if you're, think like, if someone reads this 5 years from now, what does it say about me? I know on Facebook you get those, like, you can have a post that you put out there 7, 8 years ago and it pops up and you're like,
You're
oh, wow.
reminded. Yeah, you're reminded.
Like, you're reminded. So just think about if there was something that you weren't really proud of, that came back up, or something that could have been potentially offensive, or it could have been something that, if a job employer or a client looked at, that they would, take you in the wrong context. So what does that mean? That means your digital self, your digital avatar
Mm,
is who you are.
right.
but you have the control over how you want to present yourself, right? So if
Yeah.
you want to be presented as a professional, make sure you have professional content that's out there. If you are a subject matter expert in a certain field, make sure that your digital presence is speaking to that persona.
Yeah.
Right? You can do other things, but remember that you are representing yourself and you do have a personal brand, whether you are cultivating it or not.
Yeah.
It's there. And that's what people are saying about you. It's not what you say about yourself, it's what others are saying about you.
Yeah, wow, that's so powerful. And basically while you were speaking, it reminded me of something that I heard this morning. I'm actually listening to an audiobook right now by James Clear that is called Atomic Habits. And the statement that he made today that was really profound to me was that our behaviors embody our identity. And so
Mm,
when we are sharing information on social media, what is the identity that we're tying those behaviors to? So it's really important that you mentioned that we have to be very conscious of what we're posting.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. The second question is, what does networking mean to you?
What does networking mean for me? Networking for me is about engagement. And am I engaging with the right audience? That is networking. So for me, I'm looking to grow my business. So networking, am I connecting with the right people at the right time for the right reasons?
Right.
And then when I look at that and I'm doing that, especially now, and before networking was going to a lot of different events physically, different associations, and I would pick and choose what I would go to. I was in the medical field, the healthcare field. I want to go to an association where I'm going to have subject matter experts talking about the things that are important to me and important to the audience, so that the people in the room, we automatically have some synergies between us, and it creates conversation. So
Right.
networking is about conversations, about business
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
right? And how can you generate those business conversations in a room with people that can possibly move your agenda forward as well as you're helping them? That's the number one thing you have to look at when you're networking. It's not so much how this person can help you, it's how you can help that person upon their journey. And the only way you're going to know that is by having a conversation. You can do that in the digital world as well. It's going to take, for some people, you have to pivot. Are you a part of a community? You don't want to just be a part of, it's just a generic session. Think of it
Yeah.
like that. It's an open format. Like now we're having more like an open format. Anybody that's tuning in to Five Star BDM now can join in, but it's not specific, to a specific topic for instance. So those are the different groups. You look at your social media groups and social network groups, see what's happening, get engaged in those groups, and you're going to see that your personal brand is going to grow, your business is going to grow, and you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the important things that we must remember when we are networking is the importance of sustaining our confidence. It's so easy for us to be intimidated, but I'm learning that when you know what you know, you don't have to be afraid, right? So mastering
Absolutely.
the ability of knowing your story, owning that, and mastering the ability to vocalize and share it with other people. That is
I 100% agree. Everyone has a story. And your story, whether you realize it or not, you're like a puzzle piece that helps another part of that whole fabric, that whole picture. You're the piece that fits into that other person's life. And
yeah,
if you don't share your story, you don't share your piece, they're incomplete as well as yourself. So the
yeah.
more that you can share, you can all both have a more complete vision.
Yeah, and there is a book that I'm going to encourage everyone to invest in. It is by Keith Ferrazzi and it is called, um, oh my goodness, what is it called? I just had like a brain freeze. Keith Ferrazzi. Oh my goodness, what is it called? Oh my goodness. I will make sure to drop it in the post in this recording. I literally just went like brain dead, but basically, it is a book that teaches you how to build your social capital. It's called Never Eat Alone. Never
There you
Eat
go.
Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. There you go.
I've
It
heard of
came
that
to
book.
me. It came
Yes,
to me.
yes.
It is a phenomenal book that teaches you how to be a giver. When you are trying to build your social network, learn how to give and be generous with your time and your resources. So that is my wisdom that I want to impart to our community. I am going to hop off and allow Latoya to join us next, and she will continue the dialogue on brand development and networking. Thank you, Grant.
Thank you very much, Daniela.
Hello, Grant.
Hey, Latoya.
Okay, so I have a few questions for you as well. And
Okay.
it's basically similar to what you were just saying recently about how your personal brand and it conflict with your business brand. So when you're a business owner, how do you create a personal brand that will not impact your business brand?
You know, that's very interesting because I have both. You know, so I have a career as a information technology executive, and I have a business for business development and personal branding as well from a consulting standpoint. What you look at is the commonality. The commonality is yourself, and that is what moves forward. So when it comes to personal branding, it's always you that you want to always highlight as the ultimate. And then the other things are just parts of yourself. All right. So your business is a part of yourself, or your career is a part of yourself. You want to be able to see what the synergies are between those two things so that you have a consistent message that is coherent, whether a person is interacting with you from your corporate side, or they're interacting with you from an entrepreneurial standpoint, or they're interacting with you socially. There are doors, so to speak, in which they can walk through to then connect with you. All right. Hopefully that makes a little sense if that's what you wanted to talk about. Did you want to get more specific than that?
No, you answered the question, I think, very well. Now,
Okay.
in what ways have you personally updated or strengthened your brand when it was necessary?
Say that again. You kind of broke up a little bit.
In what ways have you had to update or strengthen your brand when it was necessary?
Oh man, you know that's a continuous thing. I continuously upgrade my brand. Think of it like this: you're going to have an initial launch, let's just say, of your brand, who you are when you interact on social media, or even when you are going for a job interview. That's your launch. You're launching yourself. That's not the ending. Now you've got to nurture it. Just like if you're planting a seed in the ground and then you added, you know, the ingredients for it to grow, whether it's sunlight and water, but that's a continuous process. And then continuous transformation that takes place. So you're going to go through the entire life cycle of that brand. You know, the beginning, the growth cycles, and then you're going to start seeing what I call the sunset of a particular type of branding maybe that you were doing. It's like, you know what, that part of myself is starting to wane. I need to now recreate and retransform or refocus a little bit deeper into where I'm becoming even a newer type creation, for so to speak, from a digital or social or entrepreneurial standpoint. So that's a continuous process. If you look at possibly in myself, you look at posts that I did 3 months ago, posts that I did a year ago, posts that I did 3 years ago, you're going to see continuous change. Like, wow, I can't even believe that's the same person. And it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be, right? Because that shows growth and it shows that you're vibrant.
Thank you, Grant.
Oh, you're
Um,
most welcome. You have other questions?
no, I'm going to pass it to Stephanie.
All right, Stephanie. Well, thank you very much, Latoya. I appreciate your question.
Thank you.
There she is.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
Grant. How are you?
I am fine.
Good. You look good.
So do you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. Um, I'm learning so much from just basically hearing your story and how you started off. I know as a college student, and I struggled with balancing how to network, go to school full time, work full time, make a living. So, when we were in high school, before we transitioned to go to college, high school, they never talked about, networking. So you could basically find either a job of your liking or to get into the position that you want in the future. We all need to think about, we go to school, get our degree, and then we get that job. But in the reality, it doesn't work like that. You heard the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And
Exactly.
a lot of times it seems like people get these positions with no experience because of who they know, right? And so my first question is, how can students really present themselves in a valuable, contributing way if they do not have any professional experience when it comes to networking and branding themselves?
Well, that's a beginning. So if you don't know something, the first thing you need to do is acquire the knowledge.
Hmm.
All right. I would, if I were a student getting out of school and I did not, and remember, number one, if you're in school right now, be a part of an association, some
Hmm.
type of association. You want to be part of a group. You're going to be better off moving forward in your career with a group of people than in trying to do it all by yourself. No one is successful completely all by themselves. It is the group, the people, the influencers that come into your life that open the doors for you to then shine, right? You still need the ability, but it's just like you might be the greatest comic on earth. But if no one ever hears your jokes, no one will ever know that. So you've got to put yourself into a position to where the audience knows who you are. Associations are the best way of doing that. I'm going to add to something that you had mentioned about, it not knowing someone, or if you know someone and that they are able then to, open a door for you. That's one
Hmm.
part of it. It's not about who you know, it's who knows you. That's so super important because what personal branding is all about, it's not about what you say about yourself, it is what others say about you. How do you influence that is what's very, very, very important.
Right.
So for instance, if you did not have the expertise or you're just starting out and like you didn't know, and that's okay. I've known several people in my professional career and associations that walked through the door for the first time. Number one, they took the initiative to be a part of some type of association that was aligned to their business objective or their entrepreneurial objective. What is your objective? Align with an association that can get you there. If you want, in my world, if you want to be a healthcare executive, well, I need to join a healthcare executive association. And by getting there, I'm going to now, interact with people and find out, what's available to me maybe as a student. A lot of them have student organizations. Then they have what they call YPN or Young Professionals Network. So they have specific communities within their associations geared just for you. And then you can get the mentoring that you're looking for. You can get sponsors that you're looking for. And the most important thing, advocates. People that are actively advocating on your behalf to be successful, because they're in the know in a different world that you're not even a part of. And those conversations are happening whether you're aware of it or not. People ask me a lot of times, hey, Grant, I've got this particular project that I'm working on. Do you know anybody that has these kinds of skill sets? So they're asking me, and someone that I know that has those skill sets, I'm automatically going to give them their name. That's how that works.
Right. I love that you say that because, you know, when I was currently in school, when I attended Rutgers University, I'm getting my bachelor's in criminal justice. But prior I was working in the retail industry, and I so badly wanted to get out that industry, but because I didn't have the experience outside of retail, I wasn't landing any jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a couple amazing professors that did stress to us as students that we need to network, we need to volunteer. But then with my schedule, I said I work full time. I'm going to school full time. I have to do an internship. How do I network? First of all, I'm an introvert too, so I'm shy. I'm not the type of person that would go and start speaking to people at the time. And
Yeah.
I was just like, oh no, it's not going to cut it for me. But when I graduated, I said I still was in the retail industry, and I was so depressed because I was like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I basically, Eventbrite, have you ever heard of Eventbrite?
Yeah.
Eventbrite. So basically, I just went on Eventbrite and I was looking because I was still a struggling student as well. Well, I just
Mm-hmm.
graduated, so I was struggling, so I didn't really have the money or to invest in myself so I could be in networking events.
Yep.
So I went on Eventbrite and I looked for free seminars that was
Mm-hmm.
related to social justice, that was related to criminal justice, and that's how I got involved in my first nonprofit organization, where was working with formerly incarcerated and currently incarcerated individuals that were on Rikers Island. And I became a campaign leader, a criminal justice advocate, a social justice advocate, all in one, just by going to that seminar. And which brings to me that, you know, I was able to relate to those people because you specified in one of their when I was listening to the recording from last year
Mm-hmm.
about personal stories. I
Yeah.
wasn't able to share my personal stories because I wasn't in the same environment. I was in a retail, so I had a little disconnect. There was a lot of disconnect from me working to in the retail industry into working into a nonprofit, working with
Right.
individuals who are coming home. And because their stories were so impactful, we were able to get change. We were able to shift change. We were able to get the human rights that was well deserved, that they needed because of their stories.
Absolutely.
So my next question is, what advice would you give young people who struggle with not thinking that their stories hold enough value to brand themselves because they're comparing themselves to other people, or because they see how they did it and it worked for them, but it may not work for them? How would you, like, what advice would you give somebody who struggled with their identity, with telling their story when it
Man,
comes to
that is a great
branding?
question. That is a human problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of sad to hear about it because
Mm-hmm.
of our society, and
Right.
that we are in what I call almost a personality society, in which it's kind of like fake news. You know, you see people on social media and it looks like they're just having just fantastic life, and you look at your life and you just like, wow, my life is nothing like that. That's not reality.
Right.
So reality is who you are. That's number one. And the number one thing you need to do is learn how to tell your story, learn how to tell a compelling story about yourself. So one of the things that, and if you heard my last podcast that I did with Daniela about a year ago. I strongly suggest, and you'll see it on my website, if you go to www.5starbdm.com and you go to our online questionnaire, I think it's like 12 questions there, and it's going to help you to frame who you are and how others see you in your own personal space and time. First, understand who you are. And it's very difficult to hold up the mirror to yourself and see you, right? First, see yourself, and then try to understand and allow others to begin to see you. So one of the other things that they do, like on 360.com, is that you can send out like a survey to 10 peers. Not so much your closest, because they might not tell you exactly, the truth. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. You don't want to hear that. You want to hear about someone like, how do you see me? I need to understand how you see me, because you may be seeing me in a way that I don't see myself. And sometimes that's good. Like, wow, I didn't see myself like that. I've got comments back, and when I was building my personal brand, they saw me as a super connector. They saw me as a game changer. These aren't my words. These are the words from other people seeing me in the community or in social media and that type of thing. So number one, you have to get a good personal profile image of yourself. And you can do that through a number of tools. I just gave you a couple. And then when you see that, you can begin to what do I want to grow in? And then what are the areas that I need to strengthen? Right? Because if you have a disconnect that you just talked about, wow, everybody sees me as this retail person, but really I'm more of a non-profit advocacy kind of social conscious person. They're not seeing that. So I need to take the tool, because now I have the knowledge. How can I begin to change that? I need to start injecting more of that image into my brand, into what I'm doing. What is that brand? That's through my written form, what I'm doing on social media, how I'm interacting, even in that retail space, and letting them know more about who I am and what I do. Right. It is up to you, ultimately up to you, to tell your story. Because this is the most important thing I'd like you to take from this. Because if you don't tell your story, someone will tell it for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Absolutely. What you tell them. And that is what's happening in our society. Others have told the story about people of color, African Americans. Someone else is telling that story. I want to be able to tell my own story.
Yeah.
And for you to believe that story, because that's the truth of who I am. That's important.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because it's absolutely true that, nobody could tell your story better than yourself. Nobody
Right.
knows you more than yourself. So to get out your comfort zone, I know it takes practice. It takes time to figure out, but you really have to sit with yourself, look yourself in the mirror every day and ask yourself, who am I? Instead of worrying about what people think of you and how they feel about you. If it doesn't align to what you are.
And we'll go from there. Thanks for everybody for joining. Goodbye.